Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seat. Please take your seats.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the January 2023 City Council meeting. Tonight's meeting is being held in City Council chambers and is being live streamed on City 12 TV, as well as the City Council's YouTube and Facebook pages. We also continue to post meeting information and materials on the city's website. The meeting will now come to order, and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Gruber. Here. Councilmember Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Lightfoot.
Present, ma'am.
Councilmember Martin. Here. Councilmember Patterson.
Here.
Councilmember Pio.
Here.
Councilmember Smith. Here. Vice President Lupian.
Here.
President Melendez.
Here.
Thank you.
So before we get started with the business tonight, I'd want to take a point of privilege to wish my daughter, Aaliyah Melendez, a happy 10th birthday today. Dad has some business to take care of, but I love you, and I hope my council colleagues will let me get out of here a little early tonight, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I also want to acknowledge this is our first council meeting of 2023, and I wish to, and I hope for all of us and for the city of Rochester's sake, that we have fewer victims of violence. Obviously the standard is 0, but fewer victims of violence in our community in 2023. And I wish to ask for a moment of silence for all those in the month of January that has been a victim so far of violence. Thank you. Councilmember Harris, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Next, we have the approval of the minutes by Councilmember Pio.
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting on December 20th, 2022 be approved as published in the official sheets of the proceedings.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The following documents are hereby directed to be received and filed. The council submits disclosure of interest forms from President Melendez on introductory number 2, Councilmember Patterson on introductory number 23, Vice President Lupian and Councilmember Harris on introductory number 26 and introductory number 31.
Thank you, Clerk Washington. These documents will be received and filed. It is time for the presentation and reference of petitions and any other communications. Are there any petitions? Hearing none.
Council President, do you mind if I take a minute up front to address some of the changes that have happened this month?
Council Vice President, yes.
So you may have noticed we didn't have a Speak to Council today. I'm really excited about the changes that we're making in the council office and the legislative process. We moved our Speak to Council up further in the month, as well as our committees, to allow for more deliberation and consideration of legislation. We are getting the legislation earlier so we have more time with it. And some of the changes you might not have seen or noticed is that council has added staff to help us in our role to be a more effective legislative body. And this package of ideas for how council could serve the community better were put forward by myself, Councilmember Martin, and Councilmember Smith at the beginning of last year, and I just want to take a minute to thank my colleagues for their support and for President Melendez for and our staff for implementing these changes, because it was a lot of work and it took a long time to get here. And especially Councilmember Patterson for your advocacy, because I know yourself and Councilmember Lightfoot and Harris served in the county legislature, and some of the changes are mirroring how they do their legislative process. So I just really want to highlight that this is an example of council working really well together and being all on the same page and working towards the same goal.
Councilmember Patterson.
So I can agree with everything that Council Vice President said, except for the impetus for the change. The impetus for the change was led by myself, Council Members Harris, and Council Members Lightfoot, because of our prior experience in the legislature. We had noticed amongst ourselves that the process was entirely too compressed, and we advocated for it. So we're happy that you other three council members agree with our position, but let us be very clear about who are the leaders of this change. And you have to commend Council President Melendez for implementing it. Thank you.
I would like to just say to the council and to everyone here that, there were so many conversations around these changes. I actually feel like, and actually I'll say this very publicly, that various iterations, everyone had parts in this change. So I do want to acknowledge that there was a lot of dialogue, and certainly the Vice President had strong input and really some strong leadership in pushing for this as well. But it was a collective by the body, and I'm appreciative of everyone's work on this.
Yeah, I think that is my point. But I know that Councilmember Patterson would never let me take credit for something that I worked really hard for. But you may remember the Google document that I submitted with every change that we've made in it. And if I remember, you've been on council for 10 years, and yet those changes had not been made. And the very first thing that I advocated for was to move Speak to Council to the Thursday before. And actually, I was slammed down so hard that at the time, Council Member Evans had to call me and ask me if I was okay. And so I will take credit for what I fought very hard for, understanding that you might have a different opinion.
It looks like we might be running a little late tonight,
Yes,
because council member, you might have advocated for it, but it took significantly more than 3 council members to move it.
Which is
And if you
exactly
wanna-
what I'm
and if
thanking you
just
for.
wanna-
Thank you for your advocacy.
And yet you took time to take credit for something that was a collective action, as opposed to simply saying, hey, it's a collective action, which is what we've been doing all along. As we've
Well,
been talking about this.
Councilmember Patterson, you took it upon yourself to take credit for it last week. So I'm just setting the record straight
Can we
that it
please-
was
So I
a
would like
collective
to-
effort.
Okay.
I would like to
Please
end
go to
this
the agenda.
at this point, and certainly folks can continue the conversation outside of this meeting. So I want to move us straight to the business of the council tonight. And tonight there are 2 messages of necessity before us. Per city council rules, we must vote to authorize consideration of these items without referring it to a standing committee. So the first message of necessity was submitted jointly by myself and Mayor Evans in relation to labor and employment law legal services in regard to the Police Accountability Board. So introductory number 32 would authorize the city to enter in a professional services agreement with Hancock Estabrook LLP to provide outside legal services in responding to the petition filed with the New York State Public Employment Relations Board by the Workers United representing certain employees of the PAB. The city was served the notice of the commencement of 2 proceedings before the Public Employment Relations Board. Sorry, I'm just catching up to my notes here. On January 9th, with the requirement to respond within 10 business days. The city must appear at these proceedings, which requires an attorney with the necessary labor law background. Upon receiving the notices, Corporation Counsel Kingsley began searching for outside legal counsel with the appropriate public sector experience to represent the city, as the city's current labor law attorney is retiring before the scheduled proceedings. The city is currently seeking an extension to the 10-day requirement to respond, but even if granted, the proceedings will occur prior to the February council meeting. Therefore, the statement of necessity is required. So with that, all those in favor of considering introductory number 32, please say aye.
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 All opposed?
No. Do we have time for discussion?
We will have discussion. So the motion carries. Now let's discuss. Councilmember, We'll do a roll call vote on that, sorry.
Councilmember Gruber,
Yes.
Councilmember Harris, Councilmember Lightfoot,
No.
Councilmember Martin,
No.
Councilmember Patterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Pio,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Vice President Lupian,
Yes.
President Melendez.
Yes.
Thank you.
And now let's open up for discussion. Councilmember Martin?
Yes, I'd like to explain my no vote. I don't believe this legislation is necessary. The city charter clearly states that the mayor is authorized to voluntarily recognize city employees who desire to form a union. This is also stated in section 14-26 of the charter. I don't see any ambiguity here. I also believe that voluntary recognition should have happened months ago. As a pro-labor, pro-union council, and allegedly pro-union administration, I would have liked to see the administration support city workers. The PAB workers work for the city. They are paid by taxpayer dollars. And I really hope the administration considers revisiting their position and granting the request that was made for the PAB union to be voluntarily recognized. I'd also like to add that on November 1st, I sent a message to the Corporation Council asking about what it will take to voluntarily recognize the PAB, and was told then that it might need a third-party opinion. It's now towards the end of January. I believe the Corporation Council had ample time to find a third-party opinion if they really did believe that there was some kind of confusion. However, the lack of action to me just shows a lack of interest and an intentional delay in recognizing the union. So that's why I'm voting no. I support the PAB workers unionizing, and I see this as just an additional delay tactic.
Councilmember Patterson?
Thank you. Corporation Council have a couple of questions for you on this item. So, from what I understand, we're seeking this contract for legal representation because of a filing made by the workers to the Public Employees Relations Board. Is that correct?
Because of two filings.
Okay.
Even if one were to believe that we didn't need to go through this process of petition, which I believe we do, there has also been an improper practice proceeding filed by PERB, which we have a legal obligation as a city to respond to that requires legal counsel. My labor attorney has just retired, and I need counsel.
Okay. So is it your position then, regardless of whether there's voluntary recognition or not, we need legal representation to answer these issues that have been brought forward at the Public Relations Board?
That's correct.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any additional? Yes, Councilmember Lightfoot.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very quickly, I just want to explain my no vote. It's not in regards to, excuse me, the process of becoming in a union. I just am in protest to giving another single red cent of taxpayer dollars to the Police Accountability Board until they do what we've already given them money to do. I believe that the narrative is trying to be changed, that the problem is everything except them, and I refuse in protest to give another single taxpayer dollar to what I believe is a failed system overall with police accountability.
Council Vice President?
So if I'm understanding it correctly, the legal opinion is that the mayor cannot voluntarily recognize, nor can council change the charter so that it makes it clear.
Is why we're asking to get clarity on all of it.
I mean, the mayor said it. There are a number
Okay.
of questions Council President Melendez asked today, and the answer is that's why we need an attorney.
So the attorney can help decide whether or not we can voluntarily recognize?
Right now, there's a process. We have to follow that PERB process. The charter is not clear. There is no question that the charter does not give the authority to city council, nor would a charter ever, under a strong mayor form of government, be able to legally give that authority to
So
city
that's
council.
I guess what's
So,
confusing to
but
me.
there has to be, there is serious question in my mind and the mind of lawyers I've consulted about whether, given the uniqueness of this entity, this can be done by voluntary recognition, and the appropriate means is this petition process, and we're going through it now.
Yeah,
But the
understood.
sooner
This
you
is the way-
approve me having a lawyer, the sooner I can go through
Right.
the process.
Got it. Thank you.
Any additional final questions?
Yeah, I also do want to clear up, it is possible to recognize a union while they are going through the PERB process. So still, at any time, the administration can choose to voluntarily recognize the PAB, and they're choosing not to.
All right, so with that, we will vote on, oh, sorry, Councilmember Patterson.
Whether we're talking about voluntary recognition or not, is it correct that the legislation before us is specifically related to the PERB filing by the workers that we must answer?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll move to vote on introductory number 32. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
No.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Councilmember Gruber?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lightfoot?
No.
Councilmember Martin?
No.
Councilmember Patterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Pio?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Vice President Lupien?
Yes.
President Melendez?
Yes.
Thank you.
The motion carries. I'm also introducing a second message of necessity, which is required to reappoint 3 members of the Board of Assessment Review. The item was inadvertently left off this month's agenda, and all board members must attend the training in February, which requires proof of their reappointment. So all in favor of considering introductory number 33, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a comment.
Councilmember Gruber.
I'm happy to vote yes on this because it's reappointments and we already have their resumes on file. But just generally speaking, especially considering some of the things that have gone on in some of our civilian-led boards over the past couple of months, I just implore the administration to really invest in this, not just from a volunteer recruitment perspective, but also from a staffing perspective, so that we can make sure we're having the right conversations with our boards all the time. And part of that, I think, means making sure that council has every opportunity to recommend people, to have discussion about these types of things. So again, I'm happy to go forward with it. I just want a little more investment in our volunteer-led boards.
Thank you. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, we'll now move to vote on introductory number 33. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. We'll now move to the reports of standing committees and action thereon. Councilmember Lightfoot, the Parks and Public Works Committee report, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. To the council, the Parks and Public Works Committee recommends for adoption the following entitled legislation. Introductory number 1, authorizing a mandatory agreement related to the City Hall cooling tower replacement HVAC system assessment. Introductory number 2, we have a disclosure of interest by President Melendez, disclose affiliation only, and he may vote. Introductory number 2, amending ordinances number 2021 to 53 related to the Joseph A. Florino Rochester Riverside Convention Center South Terrace and addition. Introductory number 3, authorizing agreement for the Maplewood Park Trail Rehabilitation Project. Introductory number 4, bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $500,000 bonds of said city to finance the cost of the Aqueduct Street Group project. Introductory number 5, bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $50,000 bonds of said city to finance water main and water service improvements associated with the Aqueduct Street Group project. Introductory number 6, authorizing an agreement related to the Aqueduct Street Group project. Introductory number 10, bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing issuance of $2,500,000 bonds of said city to finance the cost of the 2023 water main cleaning and lining project. The Parks and Public Works Committee recommend for consideration the following entitled legislation. Introductory number 7, authorizing change in traffic flow related to the Aqueduct Street Group project. Introductory number 8, authorizing the alteration of pavement widths related to the Aqueduct Street Group projects. Introductory number 9, amending the official maps to dedicate a city-owned parcel to right-of-way purposes for the South Avenue Elmwood Avenue Street Improvement Project. Respectfully submitted by council members Dr. Mitch Gruber, Jose Pio, Vice President Mary Lupien, President Melendez, myself, Willie J. Lightfoot.
Thank you, Chairperson Lightfoot. The report will be received, filed, and published, and we'll proceed with the vote. Introductory number 1, authorizing a mandatory agreement relating to the City Hall cooling tower replacement and HVAC system assessment. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Introductory number 2, amending ordinance number 2021-53 relating to the Joseph A. Floriano Rochester Riverside Convention Center, South Terrace, and addition. I just want to disclose first before we vote that I'm a member of RRCC, but may discuss and vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
The motion carries. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Gruber.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Lightfoot.
Yes.
Councilmember Martin.
No.
Councilmember Patterson.
Yes.
Councilmember Pio.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Vice President Lupian.
No.
President Melendez.
Yes, the motion carries.
Thanks.
Introductory number 3, authorize an agreement for the Maplewood Park Trail Rehabilitation Project. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The motion carries. Introductory number 4, a bond ordinance authorizing the issuance of $500,000 bonds of said city to finance the costs of the Aqueduct Street Group project. This requires a roll call.
Councilmember Gruber.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Lightfoot.
Yes.
Councilmember Martin.
No.
Councilmember Patterson.
Yes.
Councilmember Pio.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
No.
Vice President Lupian.
No.
President Melendez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Introductory number 5, a bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $50,000 bonds of said city to finance water main and water service improvements associated with the Aqueduct Street Group project. This requires a roll call.
Councilmember Gruber.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Lightfoot.
Yes.
Councilmember Martin. Good.
I think at this point we've gone through the roll call, so
No.
thank you.
Councilmember Patterson.
Yes.
Councilmember Pio.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
No.
Vice President Lupian.
No.
President Melendez.
Yes. Motion carries. Introductory number 7. Oh, excuse me, 6. Let me make sure I get this right. 6. Introductory number 6. Authorizing an agreement relating to the Aqueduct Street Group project. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
No.
No.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Councilmember Gruber.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Lightfoot.
Yes.
Councilmember Martin.
No.
Councilmember Patterson.
Yes.
Councilmember Pio.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
No.
Vice President Lupian.
No.
President Melendez.
Yes. The motion carries. Introductory number 7, authorizing changes in traffic flow relating to the Aqueduct Street Group project. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
No.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember Gruber.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Lightfoot.
Yes.
Councilmember Martin.
No.
Councilmember Patterson.
Yes.
Councilmember Pio.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
No.
Vice President Lupian.
No.
President Melendez.
Yes. Motion carries. Introductory number 8, authorizing the alteration of pavement widths related to the Aqueduct Street Group project. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember Gruber.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Lightfoot.
Yes.
Councilmember Martin.
No.
Councilmember Patterson.
Yes.
Councilmember Pio.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
No.
Vice President Lupian.
No.
President Melendez.
Yes.
I just want to take a minute to explain.
We've already voted on this, and I'd like to do it moving forward, and we really should be doing those things before we vote on items. This is a matter of process.
It's a quick moving thing here, and I know you want to get home to your
I'm not
daughter.
going to allow it tonight. I'm sorry. I'm just going to have to stand firm on that.
All right.
Introductory number 9, amending the official map to dedicate a city-owned parcel to right-of-way purposes for the South Avenue and Elmwood Avenue Street Improvement Project. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
So at what point is discussion happening in between this? I'm just trying to understand because there's no space, it feels like, for discussion. We're just going through it quickly.
Councilmember Martin, I think if there's discussion on the items, it should be before we vote. So if there's something that you'd like to say before, as we get to an item, pause me, and I'll be happy to cede the floor to you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just to note, I did try to ask for that time ahead of the meeting, given I gave you the item numbers.
Definitely have to pause me before we vote. That's so on introductory number 9, the motion carries. Introductory number 10, a bond ordinance authorizing the issuance of $2,500,000 bonds of the city to finance the cost of the 2023 water main cleaning and lining project.
Council President, before we vote, I'd like to make a comment.
Yes, Councilmember Patterson.
Comment is I want to commend and thank the administration for putting forth this $2.5 million for cleaning and lining in support of our water main and our water system. It's something that we regularly and routinely do, but in light of the recent water main break, I want the community to understand that this is an ongoing and regular bit of work that we do, and rest assured, we take water extremely seriously in the city of Rochester.
Thank you, and thank you for voting for the bond ordinance for us to continue doing that with our water mains as well.
Any additional questions, comments on introductory 10? Seeing none, this requires a roll call vote.
Councilmember Gruber.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Lightfoot.
Yes.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson.
Yes.
Councilmember Pio.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Vice President Lupien.
Yes.
President Melendez.
Yes. Motion carries. Councilmember Patterson, the Neighborhood and Business Development Committee report, please.
To the council, the Neighborhood and Business Development Committee recommends for adoption the following entitled legislation. Introductory number 11, authorizing the sale of real estate. Introductory number 12, authorizing a mandatory agreement with Flower City Habitat for Humanity. Introductory number 13, resolution approving an appointment to the examining board of plumbers. Introductory number 14, resolution approving an appointment to the board of engineers and stationary engineers and refrigeration operators. The Neighborhood and Business Development Committee recommends for consideration the following entitled legislation. Introductory number 15, resolution endorsing Monroe County application for Restore New York Community Initiative Round 7 grant to support the historic Sibley Triangle Building Rehabilitation Project. Introductory number 16, authorizing an application and grant agreement for Restore New York Community Initiative Round 7 grant to support the Four Corners Aqueduct Downtown Initiative as amended. This report is respectfully submitted by Council Members LaShady Harris, Kimberly Smith, Council Vice President Mary Lupien, Council President Miguel Melendez, and myself, Michael A. Patterson.
Thank you, Chairperson Patterson. That report will be received, filed, and published, and we'll proceed with the vote. Introductory number 11, authorizing the sale of real estate. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Introductory number 12, authorizing an amendatory agreement with Flower City Habitat for Humanity, Inc. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Introductory number 13, a resolution approving an appointment to the examining board of plumbers. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Introductory number 14, a resolution approving an appointment to the Board of Examiners of Stationary Engineers and Refrigeration Operators. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
President Melendez?
Yes, Council Vice President.
Before we get to the next one, I want to make sure that get it in. And I know that other council members have something to say about introductory number 15. Maybe you should read it.
I will do that first. Introductory number 15, a resolution endorsing Monroe County application for Restore New York Communities Initiative, Round 7 grant to support the historic Sibley Triangle Building Rehabilitation Project. Council Vice President.
Thank you. I am going to be voting no on this one and the following for this reason and this reason only. I do not believe that any public funds, whether it be city, county, or state, should go to projects that are building housing that are above 50% of AMI or 60% of AMI, because if you look at the area median income in the city, it is 40% of the county. And so when we build housing that is more than 40%, we are not building it for the average Rochester family. And it is a subsection of housing that is we have an extreme lack of. And so I want to see more projects that fit within the 30 to 50% of AMI range if we're going to be subsidizing it. Thank you.
Any additional comments?
Yes, just echoing those sentiments, so I will also be voting no.
And just one additional comment, Mr. President. And I believe that the Restore New York initiative is about the revitalization of urban, rural, and disadvantaged areas for the benefit of families to thrive. And number 15 is more so about student housing than it is for families. So I will be voting no as well.
President Melendez,
Councilmember Harris.
if you can please have the administration explain a little bit details about this project for the public.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Harris. As you know, this project is a historic building that is currently occupied by the state of New York. They are exiting the building, and it will become a vacant building. As a result, a developer has purchased the building and would be creating housing in this building for students. We believe, as a city, that part of our challenge is to ensure that we have a diverse set of housing opportunities for everyone. So we certainly need more affordable housing. There's no question about that. And we are building hundreds of units of affordable housing. But we cannot have a diverse city unless we also encourage people who are students or other folks who have, low or zero incomes to have housing. And we also have to encourage higher income people to live in the city. That's one of our challenges as well. But we can't diversify our city if the only focus is on low income housing. So we believe that this project is one that we would certainly support. We have additional student housing, as everyone knows, in the former Xerox Square, which is now Innovation Square, and is 100% student housing. And we do have 19 colleges and universities in the Rochester area, so we certainly want to encourage as many of those students as possible to live in the city of Rochester.
And just to follow up, Commissioner, I had the privilege of attending Governor Hochul's State of the State on Housing here in Rochester, where we highlighted some of the challenges related to things like lead, but also the commitment of the state to really look at increasing the number of affordable units statewide. And it is my hope that this council helps us push that narrative of putting Rochester on the map for more high-quality, affordable housing in the city. And I think at the various ranges that are being talked about, not just the 30 to 50%, but we do need more 50 and 60% as well. So I'm hoping that we can continue to bang that drum. And it sounds like, from everything I've heard, there's an influx of state dollars, and we as a city need to position ourselves. Councilmember Gruber.
Yeah, just a quick question. So this is a resolution endorsing a Monroe County application. Is that right, Commissioner Miller?
Yes, that is correct. Both the city and the county have the opportunity to submit projects for Restore New York. But if the county is requesting a project in the city, the state does require the city to endorse that.
And so the city will also be endorsing projects at some point, or
That's
a
correct,
project?
yes.
When will that happen?
I'm not sure if it's in this month's legislation, but there are some projects that we are also applying for Restore funding, the projects that are in the Four Corners area.
So it's safe to say that there's a decent chance that some of the projects the city is endorsing are affordable housing projects, and this is particularly a county proposal to ask us to endorse it And I would gather the more money we can get from the state collectively between city and county for the city of Rochester, the better. That's
Yes. And as you know, our policy that City Council has helped us with is that anything that the city supports has to have at least 20% of the housing units at 60% or below. So that is our policy. And for anything that we would be providing city support to, we're selling the land, we're offering a pilot agreement, we're offering any funding, we would maintain that 20% requirement.
thanks.
Council Vice President?
Yeah, I'm confused because I think Ken did some numbers and the one project came out to 8%.
That's 16, not 15.
Oh, right, but it's still, if our policy is not to endorse it unless it's 20% affordable, then maybe I'm confused about that one. But I did just want to highlight, I understand the need to diversify our housing, but I really want to laser focus on the people who live here right now with thousands of evictions in the court waiting to happen. And I don't know if anyone's had to look for an apartment out there, but it's bad. You can't find much in any kind of affordable range. We're looking at a big crisis if we don't do something now. And so I understand that we need to diversify, but we need to put all of our effort in not just building 30 to 50% of AMI, but finding out other ways to subsidize it so people have a place to live.
Okay, thank you. So with that, I think we can move to the vote on this item. So all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
No.
Roll call vote?
Councilmember Gruber?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lightfoot?
Yes.
Councilmember Martin?
No.
Councilmember Patterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Pio?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
No.
Vice President Lupien?
No.
President Melendez?
Yes, the motion carries. Introductory number 16, authorizing an application and grant agreement for Restore New York Community Initiatives. Round 7, grant to support the Four Corners Aqueduct Downtown Initiative as amended. Council Vice President. Have anything on this item?
No,
Okay.
I mean, unless.
I do have a comment
Yeah,
on that.
go ahead.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes, so we mentioned looking at 60% AMI for affordable units, and looking at this item, then only 8% of the total units are at 60%, and within that 8%, there are 19 properties, and 14 of them are one bedroom. So that does not support families, and I do not believe it aligns with the spirit of the Restore New York initiative. So I will be voting no.
Any additional comments from council? Hearing none, I think we can move to vote on the item. So all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
No.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember Gruber?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lightfoot?
Yes.
Councilmember Martin?
No.
Councilmember Pio? Patterson, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Councilmember Pio?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
No.
Vice President Lupien?
No.
President Melendez?
Yes. The motion carries. Introductory number 440. Yes. Introductory number 440 is legislation amending the zoning map by changing the zoning classification of 2120 St. Paul Street. This item was returned to committee at last month's council meeting. I would like to entertain a motion to discharge introductory number 440 from committee. Can I have a motion to discharge?
Move it.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now let's vote on the item, introductory number 440. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Introductory number 441 is legislation amending the zoning map by changing the zoning classification of 30, 35, 64, 65, and 68 Luther Circle. This legislation was also returned to committee last month. I'd like to entertain a motion to discharge introductory number 441 from committee.
Move it.
It's been moved, seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Any discussion on the item? Now let's vote on introductory number 441. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Councilmember Harris, the Recreation and Human Services Committee report, please.
Thank you, President Melendez. To the Council, the Recreation and Human Service Committee recommends for adoption of the following entitled legislation. Introductory number 17, authorizing intermunicipal agreement with the County of Monroe for recreation and positive youth development programming. This report was respectively submitted by Willie J. Lightfoot, Councilmember Willie J. Lightfoot, Councilmember Stanley Martin, Vice President Councilmember Mary Lupian, President Miguel A. Melendez, and myself, LaShaye D. Harris.
Thank you, Councilmember Harris. That report will be received, filed, and published, and we'll proceed with the vote. Introductory number 17, authorizing an intermunicipal agreement with the County of Monroe for recreation and positive youth development programming. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The motion carries. I will now read the Public Safety Committee report. To the Council, the Public Safety Committee recommends for adoption the following entitled legislation. Introductory number 18, authorizing an amendatory agreement relating to an awareness and complaint-related communications implementation project for the Police Accountability Board. Introductory number 19, authorizing an amendatory agreement relating to the creation of a comprehensive program of onboard and training for the Police Accountability Board. Introductory number 20, authorizing agreement and amending the 2022-23 budget relating to a Lyle Otis Neighborhood Safety Improvement Project grant. Introductory number 21, authorizing an agreement and amending the 2022-23 budget for motor vehicles theft and insurance fraud protection. Introductory number 22, authorizing an agreement relating to police and fire services for the 2022 Rochester International Jazz Festival. Introductory number 31, authorizing an intermunicipal agreement with the Rochester City School District related to overtime police services. This report was respectfully submitted by Mitch Gruber, LaShaye D. Harris, Willie J. Lightfoot, Stanley Martin, Michael A. Patterson, Jose Pio, Mary Lupian, Kim Smith, and myself, Miguel A. Melendez, Jr. That report will be received, filed, and published, and we'll proceed with the vote. Introductory number 18, authorizing a mandatory agreement relating to an awareness and complaint-related communications implementation project for the Police Accountability Board.
Can I speak on this, please?
Councilmember Pio.
Thank you. I appreciate the public safety attachment, which outlines some of the information, the data that shows how many people are now aware of PAB and how many reports are coming in. It's sad to see that we have so many cases that are determined to be they did not have reasonable cause. They had 69 additional cases where it was outside jurisdiction, insufficient information to proceed. It seems like we're putting a lot of effort into no outcomes. So I'll be voting no for this.
Any additional comments?
Just a quick comment.
Councilmember Patterson.
So the PAB process has been much more difficult than what we anticipated. And yet I still have faith that in the end, this organization will serve this community in an appropriate manner. Towards that end, I will be voting in favor of this legislation. And I know that that the PAB will overcome the challenges that it faces, and it will carry out its function. Thank you.
Very well. So with that, we'll move to the vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
No.
Nay.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember Gruber? Yes. Councilmember Harris? Yes. Councilmember Lightfoot?
Nope.
Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Pio?
Nay.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Vice President Lupian?
Yes.
President Melendez?
Yes. The motion carries. Introductory number 19, authorizing a mandatory agreement relating to the creation of a comprehensive program of onboarding and training for the Police Accountability Board. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Nope.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember Gruber? Yes. Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lightfoot?
No.
Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Pio?
Nay.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Vice President Lupian?
Yes.
President Melendez?
Yes. The motion carries. Introductory number 20, authorizing agreement and amending the 2022-23 budget relating to a Lyle Otis Neighborhood Safety Improvement Project grant. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Introductory number 21, authorizing an agreement and amending the 2022-23 budget for motor vehicle theft and insurance fraud prevention. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The motion carries. Introductory number 22, authorizing an agreement relating to police and fire services for the 2022 Rochester International Jazz Festival. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
No.
Motion carries.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Councilmember Gruber.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Lightfoot.
Yes.
Councilmember Martin.
No.
Councilmember Patterson.
Yes.
Councilmember Pio.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Vice President Lupian.
Yes.
President Melendez.
Yes. Motion carries. Introductory number 31, authorizing an intermunicipal agreement with the Rochester City School District related to overtime police services.
Yes.
President Melendez.
All right, so we'll go Councilmember Harris, followed by the Vice President, followed by Councilmember Martin.
Thank you.
Just like to disclose that I'm employed by the city school district for this vote, but I'm allowed to discuss and deliberate. And with that being said, I support this, this policy that was voted on and submitted to the city by the school board. Students need to be safe, staff needs to be safe. Parents, as they arrive to pick up their children, or any family member that come to pick up their children, need to be safe. And the Rochester Police Department provides that safe space for our families who are supporting their students while they receive education in our city. Therefore, I will be voting yes for this.
Council Vice President?
Yeah, I also have to disclose that I'm an employee of the district, but I can vote and deliberate. Councilmember Harris, I thank you for your service. I am also going to be supporting this legislation. There is evidence that police can serve as a deterrent very locally. I've seen that work in my neighborhood where, when they've sat on my block, the crime has decreased. Unfortunately, a block over, I can't say the same thing. But for sitting outside of the school, it's important that kids and teachers feel safe. But that cannot be all we do. And that's what happened last year. We did this very same thing. We put police outside schools for the last 100 days, and we're here again. We also need to implement changes inside the school, like increasing pathways to peace, increasing the SSOs that are in the school, because the reality is these beefs are starting, and they follow the kids home. So they may be safe at school, at least coming into school. But when they go home, these arguments, these situations can follow them, and they can unfortunately get shot somewhere else. And so we need to make sure that we are addressing these situations as they come up on an individual level. And I really look forward, I know we have a meeting planned in February, I believe, between the council and the RCSD to work out some of these issues, as well as in our 333 committee, which is 3 council, 3 school board, and 3 county legislature, to continue to work on this issue to make sure that our kids are safe both at school and at home.
President Melendez, can I just add to that? Thank you very much, Vice President Lupian. I would like to add that, at least for me, it's never been this or, it's always this and. So, I support the police on the grounds after school and before school, and all of the things that you've mentioned. This problem that we have with the violence, it's not come overnight. This has been an ongoing problem that's ballooned with the pandemic and other things that's outside of things that we can't control. But what we got to do is we have to do everything we possibly can. All people on deck, everybody on deck, community police, school, city council, anybody that lives and supports this city, it has to be all hands approach. So I agree with what you're saying.
Councilmember Martin, followed by Councilmember Patterson.
So I want to acknowledge that what happened at Franklin was a horrific event that no child should ever experience, and I am thankful that the child is safe and all the students at Franklin are safe. I want to acknowledge that the public safety crisis facing our community continues to not change. The council members, my colleagues, have acknowledged that this is an ongoing issue, and we keep relying on the same tools and conventions that I believe play a role in bringing us to this point. I don't know that putting police officers outside of schools addresses the root causes, and I'm hearing that there's interest, in fact, in really figuring out what's going on in our community and coming up with long-range solutions that, you know, create alternative response models like Pathways to Peace, increasing the number of SSOs, and also providing mental health counseling and ensuring that kids have the services they need. I'm deeply affected by the trauma I hear about from kids and families, and I know some parents do want police officers outside of the schools. I also know that some parents don't, based on trauma they've experienced at the hands of RPD. But coming in here today, I do want to ask the administration a question regarding the officers who will be deployed. I understand that we are not able to select which officers are outside of the schools. So it's possible that officers who are there may have sustained complaints of excessive force, and they may still appear outside the schools. For parents and teachers who are concerned about police officers interacting with their students, I'm wondering if the administration would be open to sending the names and badge numbers to principals, so in case an issue arises, there's a method of accountability, and parents have that information about who's there, what's going on. I especially ask this since we found out that the police officers will not just be driving around the perimeter, they will actually be getting out of their cars and interacting with students. So out of concern for some of my constituents, I'm asking if it's possible to share the names and badge numbers of the officers who will be stationed outside the schools with principals who can share with teachers and parents and students at their request.
The superintendent will work with the police department to determine who is outside of schools. And we will listen to all of our constituents and any concerns that they have, being that we all share the same constituents. And that will be a conversation that we will continue to have with the school district. If there are any concerns about a particular officer, they should bring it to the appropriate source, and we would address it as such.
Absolutely. So I'll take that as a yes. There will be work to make sure that principals and parents are able to access information about who is outside the schools.
The school district will continue to work with the police department as they do now in terms of the operational process that works as it relates to police officers that are outside of schools. There's a process now that's done with that. Jim Shepard is the safety and security head at the school district, and someone that's on the chief team will continue to work with them on all the things that you mentioned.
I'm still unclear whether it's a yes or a no.
I'm unclear on what the question is.
The question is pretty simple. Will you allow for your police force to be able to share the names and badge numbers of police officers who are responding to the schools with the principals?
That's already public record. Anybody that wants the name of a police officer and their badge number, that right now you can ask. There's someone in City Hall right now. You can ask for that. That's a public record. If anybody wants that information, they can ask the chief for it.
So I'm taking that as a no. I was hoping to be able to support this. I do represent constituents who want to know what police officers are interacting with students, and yeah.
Again, as I said, I don't know how many ways I can answer this.
It's a simple yes or no.
The chief has no problem giving that information to the principal. This is a process that's already done anyway. When there were school resource officers in the schools, they had the names and badge numbers of folks. This is not anything new or different. Anyone that wants that information, they can have that. Chief, do we have any problems giving the names or badge numbers of police officers that are outside of schools, Chief?
Not at all, sir.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you. Took you long enough to answer.
Councilmember Patterson, followed by Councilmember Smith.
Okay, so the employment of school sentries is the responsibility of what organization exactly again? To the administration? The school sentries?
School safety officers?
Yes.
They are employees of the Rochester City School District.
Okay, so the increasing their number is a responsibility of the Rochester City School District. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Any police officer stationed outside of a school, we certainly know who all of those individuals are, and we certainly know what shifts that they are working. Is that correct?
That is correct.
If there's a problem or if there's an allegation at a particular time on a particular day, we know which officer is assigned there?
That is correct.
And so there's no problem with addressing any issue or complaint registered against an officer assigned to a school?
That is correct. And I would also add that we cannot just go on a campus unless we're invited. So the reason why we have this resolution before the council is that we were invited by the Rochester City School District. This is not something that we asked to do. It was something that was a request of us.
If the Rochester City School District wants more resources in the form of Pathways to Peace or any other organization, is it possible? What would be the process for them acquiring those resources?
They will have to ask for it, and as you know, there has been several and I know you know this, Councilman Patterson, some other folks may not. Whenever there was a request for more Pathways to Peace workers, we provided it. And in fact, there may be legislation, I believe, next month for a request for an additional Pathways to Peace workers. School district requested, we provided to the best of our ability.
Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes. I just wish that there were an opportunity to set forth more guardrails around this to ensure that our children are not going to be policed but protected. With that, I just look forward to working with you, Vice President Lupien, to come up with some more bold solutions. And I know that this is something that the community feels strongly about because it is something that makes them feel safe. So I will reluctantly be voting yes for this.
I also just want to add that Councilmember Harris and Lightfoot, in the Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition as well.
Yes.
Very well. So with that, on introductory number 31, I'd like to proceed with the vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
No.
And we'll do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Gruber? Yes. Councilmember Harris?
Absolutely.
Councilmember Lightfoot?
Yes.
Councilmember Martin?
No, I'm hopeful that there will be other solutions that address the root causes and that parents and teachers will be able to know who is outside their schools and who's interacting with their children.
Councilmember Patterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Pio?
Absolutely.
Councilmember
Thank you.
Smith?
Shamefully, yes.
Vice President Lupien?
Yes.
President Melendez?
Yes. The motion carries. Councilmember Gruber, the Finance Committee report, please.
To the Council, the Finance Committee recommends for adoption the following entitled legislation: Introduction number 23, authorizing an agreement and amending the 2022-23 budget for the Financial Empowerment Center program. Introduction number 24, authorizing an agreement and amending the 2022-23 budget for a Living Cities grant. Introduction number 25, authorizing administrative tax cancellations and refunds of $1,000 or less for 2023. Introduction number 26, a bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $15,100,000 bonds of said city to finance the cost of improvements to specified city school district buildings. Introduction number 27, authorizing an amendatory agreement for Freedom of Information Law records request tracking software services. Introduction number 29, authorizing an agreement to assist with advertising and promotion of a recruitment campaign advertisement. Introductory number 30, authorizing an amendatory agreement relating to securities litigation services. The Finance Committee recommends for consideration the following entitled legislation. Introductory number 28, authorizing the grant and renewal of a cable television franchise. This report was respectfully submitted by Council members Michael A. Patterson, Mary Lupien, Kim Smith, Miguel Melendez, and myself, Mitch Gruber.
Thank you, Councilmember Gruber. That report will be received, filed, and published, and we'll proceed with the vote. Introductory number 23, authorizing an agreement and amending the 2022-23 budget for the Financial Empowerment Center program. All in favor, please.
President Melendez, I have to
Yes.
disclose. Wait, sorry. Oh, it's Councilmember Patterson has to
Yeah.
disclose. My
Yeah,
bad.
I was waiting.
Councilmember
finish.
Patterson.
Yeah, thank you. So I'd like to disclose I'm a member of the Redco Board, but I am allowed to discuss and vote on this item.
Any discussion? Seeing none, we will proceed with the vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Introductory number 24, authorizing an agreement and amending the 2022-23 budget for a Living Cities grant. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The motion carries. Introductory number 25, authorizing administrative tax cancellations and refunds of $1,000 or less for 2023. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Introductory number 26, a bond ordinance authorizing the issuance of $15,100,000 bonds of the city to finance the cost of improvements to specified city school district buildings. This requires a roll call vote.
Councilmember Gruber,
Yes.
Councilmember Harris,
Abstain, employed by the city school district.
Councilmember Lightfoot. Yes. Councilmember Martin,
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Pio,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Vice President Lupian,
Abstain.
President Melendez.
Yes. Motion carries. Introductory number 27, authorizing a mandatory agreement for Freedom of Information Law Records Request Tracking Software Services. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The motion carries. Introductory number 28 is legislation authorizing the grant and renewal of a cable television franchise. At the request of the administration, this legislation will be held until March. I would like to entertain a motion to return introductory number 28 to committee. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 29, authorizing an agreement to assist with advertising and promotion of a recruitment campaign advertisement. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Introductory number 30, authorizing an amendatory agreement relating to securities litigation services. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The motion carries. Is there any other miscellaneous business before the council?
Mr. President, if you would indulge me for just a second, please, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Being that it's a new year, and it was mentioned earlier in the meeting, we started off, the president, about acknowledging the deaths from those in gun violence in the past, and of course, had a moment of silence for those who've been impacted by the traumatic events of gun violence and violence within our community. I just want to extend, and for the record, let the public know, as well as everyone and my council members, thank all of the council members and administration for those who've been attending the Rock Against Gun Violence Commission, and then also just let you know about the Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition very quickly. I want to thank again the mayor and his administration, because his staff attends every single Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition meeting. Victor Saunders, the mayor's advisor on violence prevention, is at every meeting. Aaliyah Hinton-Williams, who's part of the crisis coordinator, is at every single meeting. RPD, Captain Murrah, and the police have supported every single meeting. And we have some major things that we're working on through the coalition. And just one is the gun trace data report that we're going to be presenting to this community this year, once and for all, answering that question of where do the guns come from, and then being able to hold individuals accountable. Second, we were very instrumental on advocating for this city joined a class action lawsuit against gun manufacturers that we're a part of. And then there's the New York State Gun Dealers Code of Conduct, which is also a very powerful tool in helping to hold folks accountable. Those meetings, we have them right here in Chambers every second Monday of the month at 6 o'clock. We're hybrid. You can watch them on our YouTube City Council channel. I thank President and the staff here for allowing us to use that platform every month. to hold these public meetings. Anyone is welcome to come to the Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition, colleagues included. I thank President for attending the meetings. I thank Councilmember Patterson for attending me. Councilmember Harris is also a part of that committee as well. So many of you, some of you have come, and if we talk about violence, I'm saying come and join and be a part of the conversation and be a part of bringing solutions. Every month, second Monday, here in council chambers at 6 o'clock are those meetings, and they're on our Facebook page at Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition on Facebook. They're also on the City Council YouTube, and you can join by Zoom. So they're hybrid meetings, and we hope to make them as accessible to the public as possible. Thank you.
Councilmember Lightfoot, I just want to acknowledge your leadership in this space and appreciate you for a moment, because I think the fact that we're going to have a gun trace data report in the city of Rochester is going to be a game changer for public safety. And I know this is a long time coming. You've been doing this for a long time, but I'm looking forward in 2023 for us getting that report, and then this council and this administration taking action. So thank you.
Just to that question.
Councilmember Patterson, followed by Councilmember Harris.
Outstanding. Councilmember Lightfoot, could you share with the community what the cost is for the gun trace data report and where it's coming from?
So the cost of the gun trace data report done by Brady National, which they've done for my cousin Lori Lightfoot in Chicago, not my cousin, but anyway, in Pennsylvania.
She is forever for now on.
She is. And for all these other states, is a whopping $0. $0. We're getting a gun trace data report here in Rochester, which is phenomenal.
Councilmember Harris.
I'd like to echo the remarks of President Melendez. Lightfoot has been a starch champion of this. It's been fun to work alongside him with this, as well as challenging to watch all the violence in our community. And I will say that the gun trace data is going to be huge for us. Councilmember Lightfoot, could you explain to them, how hard this has been and what kind of a lift this has been for our coalition as well as other cities?
Well, I'll just say, thank you, Councilperson Harris. I would just say that it's been very difficult because we've been in transition from one administration to another. So I want to pause and acknowledge the former administration that helped start Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition, signed the agreement, a member of understanding agreement with Brady prior to the new administration come in. But this new administration immediately saw the need for this and continue to move this and actually push the ball forward. So it's been very difficult because of all of the logistics around all of that, but also because typically people don't want this data released. Okay, this is going to be some very informative information and answer that question that many of us have asked or have talked about, sat in barbershop salons, coffee table conversations, and say, where are these guns coming from? We're going to answer that question and have a public-facing dashboard like the open data portal that RPD has that will have this data on there, which could really help us as we strategize our efforts around eliminating violence within our community. Gun violence.
Councilmember Peel.
Sorry, nothing to do with that. I just wanted to acknowledge that every single regular city council meeting, we always have 2 RPD officers standing guard back there, and never, ever do I ever feel like I'm being policed or feel like I'm in any kind of danger. I feel like I'm always being protected. So I want to thank you guys very much for always being there for us. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, with no further business before the council, we stand adjourned.